Hi, today I'm going to be talking in a bit more depth about how we can control the DoreMidi MTD-1024 from DMX software. It's a fun little box that basically takes MIDI data and power over USB, or you can feed it MIDI data via MIDI interface and output two universes of DMX data. And you can map any MIDI message to any combination of lighting outputs. Now there are a bunch of ways of programming this, and you'll find some other videos by other people going, hey look, I programmed it so when I press this note on the keyboard this turned on, when I press this, or when I press this note, this combination of lights turned on, which is pretty cool. But when you want to go beyond that, it becomes a bit of a tedious to program it. You can sit in Cubase or Logic and draw CC curves, but that's a very slow way of doing it. Also, there's kind of a bit of a choice you need to make. If we set it up to respond to MIDI notes, you can program on-offs really quickly, but it's really hard to do fades. If you program it as CCs, you can program fades beautifully in Cubase, but it's very slow. You can't just jam out some notes. So we're going to look at how we can program it directly from DMX software. This might seem a bit counterintuitive to buy an interface that does MIDI and then program it via DMX, but it turns out there's some advantages to doing that. Some people have reported problems with this thing hanging. I have seen that. Particularly, it seems fine when you're just sort of pressing notes on a keyboard and sending it one or two MIDI messages quite slowly. When you start sending it deluges of MIDI messages to try and control 1024 lightning channels, it can hang up. So if you need to update to the latest firmware, having updated to the latest firmware and using the latest version of the software, I've not seen any hangs during performance. I have seen some hangs during programming. I'm going to show you how to program it in a minute. When I have programmed it, I've seen it hang when I've tried to download a complex program into the box. Generally, what I've found fixes that is there's an option to do a factory reset. If you do a factory reset, which deletes the old program, then when you download the new program, it's generally fine. And then after that, once the programming is downloaded, then you're good. When you perform an upgrade, you'll need to press down on the button and plug the device in, and you'll see that it says upgrading. Yes, it's mirror imaged here, don't worry about that. And then it's in upgrade mode. And then in the software, we just hit connect. And then there's an option here to do a firmware upgrade. Now, they don't recommend you upgrade firmware using Mac. There have been instances of upgrades failing and the device allegedly breaking following a Mac upgrade, so they recommend upgrading on Windows. I did that, it worked absolutely fine. People just select from there and follow the instructions. The other one is we have got this factory reset which wipes everything. This it really helps if you are seeing problems trying to program, so just wiping out the old program before you download the new program. Here I'm connected to my device, and you can see we've set up a whole load of mappings. So there's no established best practice to how you should do mappings. So I've gone for something very simple and sort of mechanical, which is going to be handy later on. You can actually program quite a lot of your light show at this level if you wanted to, but what I'm doing is I'm going to map DMX channel 1 to CC
0 on channel 1, CC2, and all the way through. I'm just doing a one-to-one mapping between DMX channels and MIDI CCs, and you'll really see that at a certain point I reach CC 127 on channel 1. So for the next DMX channel 129, I'm going to just go on and go, hey, I'm going to just put that onto the next MIDI channel, and I'll go all the way through. So I've got a mapping set up that goes all the way through, that maps 1024 channels. So that says DMX channel 1024. I know there's no such thing as DMX channel 1024. They use numbers 512 or 513 to 1024 to represent the second DMX universe. So channel 512 on the second universe is MIDI controller CC 127 on channel 8. So I've got this whole mapping going through one-to-one. You can download that mapping on my website. So all you would need to do, if you want to reprogram it, I can just open File, and somewhere in here I've got a mapping, DMX CC mode. I do open, it loads it up. You can see it kind of looks the same because I've already programmed it, and then you just hit set down here and it's going to download that programming. So here I've set up the app DMX to MIDI, and I've told it so this is listening for DMX data over ArtNet, and it's going to convert it to MIDI CCs, and I'm going to send this straight to my MTD-1024, which I've pre-programmed to listen for MIDI CCs. So this has got basically the inverse mapping programmed into it. So if I grab some DMX software, which is running on my iPad, and start playing with it, you see that this is sending DMX data over ArtNet, and it's getting converted into MIDI CCs and then getting converted back by the MTD-1024 into DMX data. So now we can do all our programming using regular DMX software. We can control it using whatever DMX interface or surface we're familiar with, but it's getting turned into MIDI. Because the DMX data has been turned into MIDI data, we can run it through some DAW software, for example like Cubase. So if I create a MIDI channel, I can tell it to listen on the IAC bus, output on the DoreMidi, and then tell DMX to MIDI to output to the IAC bus. So now if I start sending MIDI events, we can see that those MIDI events are now getting picked up in Cubase, getting routed through this channel, and then back out. So if we create a MIDI event, if we create a MIDI region, we can either manually pre-program these, or we can simply record this data, play this data in real time, and record it straight into Cubase. Potentially this is a really powerful way of programming your DMX lights, because by going through from DMX to MIDI, it means we can work with all our time-based DAW solutions. We can record these alongside our audio and output them back out to DMX at showtime. Thanks for watching.